Sup? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. This book is dusty and musty, but not crusty. I don't use it like that. If you know, you know. Anyway, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. I signed up for a greedy medieval RPG. Instead, I got dragons, destiny, and a DM with a weird obsession, reposted due to a quotation glitch. So this was a while ago, but I still think about it every time someone says, my game is low fantasy. Let this be a warning to anyone who had even been tricked into a fantasy hell by a DM with an agenda. I love tabletop RPGs, was really looking forward to no fantasy gritty world to play. No elves, no wizards, no magical bloodlines, a cruel and painfully grounded. Think mud, rusted swords, and dying of a chest cold and pigsty. So when a guy I met online, let's call him Mark, pitched a campaign called Ashes of the Iron Realm, promising no magic, no fantasy races, and absolutely no chosen one crap, I was 100% in. It's amazing to see all kinds of different games being played out there. There's flavors for all kinds of TTRPGs with all kinds of systems or settings and stuff. I love it. Honestly, I think it's cool. I prefer my magic, honestly, and my fantasy, but I wouldn't mind playing something more gritty and realistic and grounded. Maybe some sci-fi. Anyway, let's continue. I made a female hedge knight with the average genetic tragic backstory of her having a village burned down by northern raiders, and she vowed to protect innocence, and I made a personal objective of making a better living for the common folk and innocents. She almost always donated most of her money to build an orphanage for the village kids that lost their parents. Mark was intense, but in that way GMs sometimes are. He kept messaging me outside a group chat to say things like, your character concept is so unique, I never met a player with your depth before, which was odd, but I brushed it off. He said he liked how I understood suffering, which should have been a red flag, but I was excited to play. Hold on one second. Whoa, buckaroo. If your DM suddenly starts saying, you really understand, I don't know if I could do like a expression, you really understand suffering, I kind of feel like it's a red flag. I don't know what kind of suffering you're talking about. I get if somebody's into like a more gritty, grim character, tragic character, and you know, maybe somebody enjoys and likes the fact that somebody's writing some sort of a tragic hero or heroine and stuff, but it kind of just feels weird to just be like, you really understand like suffering. It's like the same thing as somebody was like, man, you really know how to write a character, you really know what it's like to have a kidney stone. What? It's such a weird out-of-pocket thing to say that I've no idea how to interpret it. Maybe it'll get better, who knows, I don't know. Anyway, the campaign starts. Arrow makes broken, gritty characters. A disgraced sellsword, a blade doctor that sounded insane, a peasant girl who burned her village down. Real bleak stuff. We're loving it. Session 1's great. It's all political tension, hunger, plague, anger mobs. Perfect. Session 2. We meet a hermit who speaks in riddles and has a third eye. Mark says it's just old superstition. Okay, weird, but I'll let it go. Session 3. Sellsword finds a sword wrapped in red vines that sings when drawn. I point out that sounds magical. Mark insists it just metallurgy, an ancient craftsmanship. People back then believed anything. Sure, whatever. But by session 5, things are getting blatant. Plague Doctor gets marked by a dream stag. An NPC heals someone by touching their chest and whispering in a forgotten tongue. A tree starts bleeding. I'm squinting at the screen like, is this a fever dream? No, indeed not. Maybe it could be, honestly. Maybe everything that's going on is indeed a fever dream and you guys caught the plague, and what you're seeing is just what the plague affects on your psyche, but you can't tell it in character. Maybe, potentially, I don't know. It is really strange to be like, no magic, no fantasy, no stuff, and there's magic and fantasy and all the other stuff that usually was supposed to be in this game. It's one thing to have somebody do like some sort of like a voodoo or whatever, like to be some sort of a witch doctor and do some sort of ceremony or ritual and stuff, but it's another thing to straight up be like healing magic by speaking runes and everything. And listen, I love my magic, I love my fantasy, I love all that, but if the game is not designed for that, then why put that in the first place? It's just strange, you know? So I message Mark privately, hey, I thought there was no magic setting. He replies, this isn't magic, this is mythic truth, there's a difference, you all people should understand that. What? I'm with you, I'm thinking, what? Mythic truth? Sounds like magic. Sounds like a different word for magic. Call it whatever you want. Hocus pocus, divine intervention, rituals, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. If it looks like magic and sounds like magic and walks like magic and quacks like magic, it's probably magic or a magic duck. I don't know why it quacks. But still, this actually sounds like magic. It's kind of counterintuitive to having a non-magic setting when you have magic, you know? He follows up with, "There's just something about the way you write your character. It's like you're meant for deeper things. Most players, they make little dolls, but your character feels real, like something old and sacred, something fertile." What? Whoa, hold on 1 second. Is your DM a cult leader or something? Because this sounds cryptic. So cryptic. I also have a question. Is your DM potentially hitting on you by complimenting your character so much? Why do they call your character fertile? Is it because your character is a woman? She's gonna be impregnated by magic? Is that what's gonna happen? Maybe give birth to Satan or Antichrist or something? Is that what the DM is leading up to by saying fertile? Because they're talking about your character potentially carrying a child in her womb. Dude, I feel uncomfortable, so uncomfortable reading this. I actually had to reread the last words because I thought I misread it. I hadn't. The weird vibe escalated from there. Every session, Mara gives me special vision glimpses of women giving birth, or whispers from the forgotten goddess of fertility beneath the world. Called it! My character became the only one who can see the true nature of things. I ask him to tone it down, and he says, "I just think your character is more open to the mythical world. Maybe because of who's playing her." Excuse me? Oh, you know, this is DM's attempt to try to flirt with you by saying your character is so fertile. This is a horrible Riz. L-Riz. This is vile. It all comes to a head in session 7 when the party visits a ruined abbey and meets an ancient cult leader named Severin the Hollow-Eyed. This guy starts ranting about the bloodline of fire in a womb of stars, and then just straight up says to my character, "You must lie with me, vessel of birth. The child we make shall be the chosen one." Silence. Oh, let me get this straight, DM. Is this character the eyeless one? Is this your self-insert? This is your creepy, weird way attempting to flirt with your player because their character is supposedly fertile or something, or understands suffering or whatever? What the fuck is going on, dude? What the absolute hell is going on? It was this the entire point? Was your DM trying to do this the whole time? Just play it up to the point where your character gets banged by a self-insert DMPC? Is that it? Is that what they're trying to get to? Is this really their attempt at flirting and trying to get a connection with you? Did they see something? Set of signals that weren't even there? Is that what happened? Is that really what happened? Because this is insane. It's insane. They tricked you to a game to play with you just so they could try to flirt with you and then sleep with their character with the extension of their own DMPC inside the game and get your character impregnated. What the hell? The kind of risk that never works. This never works. Don't ever try this. Worst mistake of your life entirely. Well, we're already so deep into this endeavor, so let's see how it turns out before I give my final comments. I literally shot in the call, "What the frick you just say?" "It's part of the prophecy. He's an old man. He's not serious. He just believes he's destined to sire the hero." I responded with, "Yeah, that's worse." One of the other players DM'd me after and said, "Hey, that was uncomfortable. Are you okay?" That's when I realized I wasn't overreacting. I left the campaign right after the session. Mark messaged me saying I was abandoning the sacred arc and that my character had a responsibility to the story. He even wrote a paragraph-long bit of lore about how the bloodline is now broken and the world will suffer. God, let the world burn. As one to play a miserable knight who dies a tragic death while trying to make the world a better place. And you're entitled to play a tragic knight that dies to make the world a better place if you want to. But you don't have to play this. This is not it. This is not it whatsoever. Can't believe it. I don't know who needs to hear out there, or who needs to forward this video, this clip to. Do not turn D&D into your own little tiny flirt-a-thons for you to try to get your riz on with your player in the most creepiest way imaginable. If you want to get to know them on a personal level and actually want to take him out out for coffee or something, or for tea, whichever part of the world you're in, then just do it outright. Don't just force the character to basically be banged and impregnated by your DMPC, because this stuff is creepy, especially if that's not the kind of thing they signed up for. The game was supposed to be a gritty adventure where players are just, dying by the sword and just having to live by the grit of their teeth, and eventually they will die for hopefully a better world in the future as they play out their suffering, tragedy, roleplay, or whatever. But not this. This is magic and some chosen one, but specifically what you didn't want to have. And I'm glad some of the other players checked in on you to see if you're okay. You're not crazy in this endeavor. This is insane. This DM is nuts. Stay away from this DM completely. I don't know who needs to hear this out there, but don't use TTRPGs as your way to get your weird, creepy flirtathon, especially in this way. This is one thing that will never work. Don't follow this Riz. L-Riz. I'm a warlock with charisma 20, and yet I can't speak myself out of a paper bag. But that doesn't take me any kind of stats to realize this is L-Riz. Don't do this. Let's check off the weirdness and get to the next story for today. Hopefully there's no weird perverts talking about characters being fertile. Jesus Christ. That guy was a thorn by my side an entire campaign and now threatens to ruin the next one. Some context first. I'm the main DM from a group of 4 players, and we just finished our first ever campaign after playing for the better part of 2 years. Honestly, it was an absolute blast. I loved every second of it, or at least most of it. See, there's this one player who perfectly embodies what it means to be a that guy. Bobby never pays attention unless it's specifically his turn in combat. He assaults every NPC that isn't immediately docile, tries to seduce every female NPC, and watch the wall, constantly cancels at the last minute, and refuses to reschedule. Now you'd think that having less of him would be a good thing, but my players are adamant about not playing unless everyone is present. It breaks immersion apparently. Oh no, your whole gang is basically a big old bundle now. Oh, if that ever happens in the future, I think you probably already, from this story, the fact that you wrote already, you probably already know ahead of time, hindsight 2020, but I'm just going to predict that it might be better in this situation if the one player that is being kind of a problem at the table and is not really being interactive, that is the only one doesn't really care to be involved in, is an issue, but the rest of the players want to make sure the party's all full. Why not just find somebody that can be a nice fill-in, as somebody who can fill the slot in case instead of the problem player? That way you can have somebody that's consistent and is going to be there and hopefully not as big of a problem as Bobby is. I mean, listen, even if it's like a new player that has ample time and stuff, you can teach him how to be good and stuff and teach him how to enjoy the game and teach him to show him the ropes and everything. That'd probably be better than dealing with Bobby over here, because now the entire party is a big bundle. If Bobby doesn't want to show up because they don't feel like it, then nobody else can show up and you can't even enjoy the game properly because it has to be postponed for the next time. Man, what a mess. I am so sorry for you. At first I thought maybe I was the problem. As a new DM, it's pretty difficult to keep a group of 4 fully engaged across every pillar of gameplay. So I try to adapt. When each player joined a different faction, I gave them personalized NPCs to interact with, even romance, and unique storylines to follow. Everyone seemed to really enjoy this aspect of the game. We even cried together near the end when one of the NPCs died. Well, everyone except Bobby. He flat out refused to interact with his faction leader or do any side quests, which I interpreted as pure disinterest. It's not disinterest, it's because everything doesn't revolve around Bobby. Like you said, they don't care unless it's their turn in combat, and they'll only interact with NPCs or the docile, or no, the one attack NPCs unless they're docile. I think maybe Bobby just wants to play a game where there's just a lot of combat and battles and less about story. Is one thing that can happen. Sometimes you can have players that are really just looking for a different type of game, and maybe they just want to be like a meat grinder where you just go from battle to battle, and that's really all you want to do. You don't feel like role-playing, interacting, and that's fine, that's all well and good. But then don't join a game where it's going to be roleplay and battle in a nice balance. Find a game that fits you. Don't just expect the DM to just, custom or change up stuff for yourself, because now you have this poor DM basically second guessing themselves when the game is probably just fine as it is. I figured maybe social encounters weren't just his thing, so I pivoted towards more diverse combat scenarios and gave the group magic items tailored to their characters. Everyone had a blast using the customized items. Everyone except, again, Bobby. He never seemed to remember what this item did. Yet somehow still asked every session if he could get more powerful items. At this point, I was stumped. Like a kid in a candy store is not happy about the candy that he has in his hand, is focusing more on the candy that's up on the shelf. Is like, can I have that too? Bobby, you already have a candy, but can I have that too? Bobby, please. Eventually, I decided to talk to Bobby privately and ask if he actually wanted to stay in the game. I thought maybe he felt socially obligated since we're all friends IRL. To my surprise, he said yes. I also asked if there was anything I could do to make the game better for him, but no matter how much I asked, he just said he was content. content is all well and good, but not if your DM is trying to provide something for you. There's one thing to be content and just kind of meander about in the background, but there's another thing where the DM actually wants you to be involved. I think maybe there was a miscommunication or something. Maybe you should have worded it a specific way, like trying to encourage Bobby to give you something where you could be involved in it. Content is one thing, but what you're trying to do as a DM, as a proper DM, which I think is a good thing of you, is you're trying to get Bobby to engage with something. Being content and happy, just being a wallflower, just meandering about is well and good. Unless Bobby's that kind of person where he's shy, or maybe he's not comfortable role-playing and stuff. He's cool just being part of the gang and doing whatever everybody else is doing, but for the most part doesn't really want to like rock the boat or do anything major or anything like that. Maybe Bobby's just that kind of player. If that's the case, then I think it's just a difference of playstyles. Bobby wants to just be content and not really have anything special done for him, but you want to do something special for Bobby because you have 4 players. You want them all to feel like they belong in this world and involved in some way. But also Bobby is saying like, can I get more magic items? So maybe just a massive player difference, honestly, like a playstyle difference basically. You want one thing and Bobby wants something else. A few sessions later, the issue only got worse. He canceled twice in a row last minute, and during the session he did show up for, he was so distracted that he didn't even play his turn in combat. Then he left early. After that, I mentally checked out of everything related to his character. Dropped his faction, harassed an NPC, guard showed up, tried to seduce the millionth woman, ignored. The rare item he remembered that his character could do and actually try to help in combat, didn't count the damage. Encounters were already balanced around the players who actually participated. Very childish, I know, but at some point, the level of disrespect just gets to you. Especially as a new DM who spent hours finding maps, tokens, bouncing encounters, and writing unique storylines for every character. And this, unfortunately, DM, is where I'm gonna have to say you were wrong in. I understand the frustration. I understand the disrespect. I understand you want more than just for Bobby to cancel last minute so it ends the entire session for everybody. You have to wait until next week in order to do stuff. I completely understand. But you don't solve out-of-game issues in-game or by completely ignoring your player. This is just not a way to do so. Bobby is a rude player. Definitely, but you don't solve something by being also like a jerk to Bobby. You don't solve by being a jerk DM. Jerk players suck, but you don't make it better about also being a jerk. You try to solve it out of game so that things can move amicably. You can enjoy playing the game instead of just being bitter at a player that's there. Well, half the time there, because he does cancel last minute half the time, which is indeed a rude thing. And you're fully justified to feel rude, but you don't like put out fire with fire. You only gotta get people burned. We finally reached the end of the campaign, and after laughing and crying all night, we closed the chapter, thankfully, with more positive memories than negative ones. However, I'm afraid the story might have a second part. A new campaign is starting. One of my players has taken up the mantle of his DM. I'm incredibly excited. This is my first time getting to be a player, and the new DM is a creative and intelligent person, so I know it's going to be amazing. With one exception. He plans to invite Bobby, and I'm dreading the idea of spending more time in a campaign with him when I thought I was finally free. Thank you for reading such a pathetic rant about a board game. If you made it this far, I ask you, what should I do? Should I ask the new DM not to include Bobby, stick it out, or just avoid D&D altogether? Thanks in advance, and sorry for the long post. Whoa, this is such a tough position to be in. On one hand, yeah, you get to be a player, and your friend gets to DM. Awesome! What's not fun is that Bobby's gonna be there. Oh, not awesome. I think the best thing to do, honestly first, is to talk to your DM. Just have a heart-to-heart and say, hey, are you sure about inviting Bobby? Because let me tell you, when we had our campaign, I've had a really difficult time with them, and list the grievances and the difficulties. Specifically mention the fact that he cancels last minute, doesn't participate, doesn't want to be involved unless it's his turn, and just basically does his own thing, living in his own world because he's content and doesn't actually involve and participate. And you would want not to really have to deal with another campaign where suddenly everybody has to cancel because Bobby canceled last minute even though you're excited to play and everything. Because yeah, the cancellation is definitely going to be a huge hindrance for any DM, but even then, having a player that doesn't participate and just content to just meander about and do whatever he wants to do, that also can be definitely a problem for sure. So the first thing I would do, honestly, is talk to the DM, have a heart-to-heart, and say have concerns about Bobby as a player. Unless it's addressed, you don't know if it's going to be really benefiting the campaign or it might actually hurt the campaign having Bobby there. If the DM is still insistent on wanting to have Bobby because friends and everything, then it is what it is. At that point, you have your own decision to make. Obviously, you don't have to do like some sort of ultimatum to the DM. You don't have to tell the DM, listen, it's either Bobby is out or I'm out. But you can just tell them that if Bobby is going to be joining in, you're not really looking forward to having more sessions be canceled last minute, even though everybody is so excited for it. And you considering that if Bobby is going to be joining in, it may potentially change the way like you participating in the campaign. Make sure to clarify to the DM, you're not like trying to draw some sort of ultimatums, because you're not drawing ultimatums. At the end of the day, you just want to have a good time and you want to make sure that the campaign goes well. And just warn the DM that Bobby can be a little bit of a difficulty from the DM perspective, since you already have experience with Bobby yourself. And if the DM chooses to still have Bobby in the game whatsoever, honestly, do yourself a favor. No D&D is better than bad D&D, and your time is better spent looking for other games out there instead of dealing with this one. Because another game, another campaign with Bobby would just be same old, except from a player perspective. And do you really want that? If you want, go for it. If not, no D&D is better than bad D&D. That's my best advice. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thank you so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.